We need to know how to find surface area of prisms, but before we do that, we need to make sure that we know what a prism is.
A prism is a three-dimensional shape. It's a solid object that has flat faces and similar ends or bases. So solid object, flat faces, similar bases. One description that I like is if you think about drawing a two-dimensional shape on a piece of paper and envision how that would look if it extended up off the paper into a three-dimensional shape. That is a prism. I'll put this link in Schoology so that you can play with it, but this is kind of a fun place where you can look at all the different angles of a prism. You can spin it around, and you can even disassemble it so that you can see what all the parts look like. Here's a net, and if we need to find the surface area of this net, we want to know how much space does the outside of this object take up. So we have to find the area of each individual shape. And if I notice that these are all squares, then I can see that the dimensions are 9 inches by 9 inches. So I know that the area of each one of these pieces is 81 square inches. And since we have 6 sides, I can multiply 81 times 6 and get 486. And of course, we're talking about inches. We're talking about square inches. As usual, there's more than one way to solve problems like this. The way that we just discussed is drawing a net and then finding the area of each different shape. Another way is to use a formula. And the formula of surface area is we have to find the length and the width and the height. So we would multiply 2 times the length times the width and add that to 2 times the width times the height, and add that to 2 times the length times the height. And if we do all of those things, then we're taking care of each and every part of the net. So here's an example of a triangular prism. So in this case, we're not only finding the area for rectangles, we're also having to find the area for triangles. So in that case, we need to think back and remember the area for the formula for the area of triangles is 1/2 times base times height. So we would find those accordingly. These are each 54. And then we could go on to find the area of all the other pieces and add them together. So let's do number 3 together. In this example, I'm going to use the formula to figure out how the surface area of this shape. Okay, so my length is 8 centimeters, my width is 5 centimeters, and my height is 6 centimeters. I'm just going to follow this formula right here, and I'm going to write an equation of the surface area of this shape. So I need 2 times my length times my width, so 8 times 5. And you can figure out why we would need 2 because there are actually 2 of those same pieces that we're trying to find the area for, which is this piece right here, 8 times 5. And then I'm going to add that to 2 times the length times the height. So the length is 8 and the height is 6. And then I'm going to add that to 2 times the width times the height. And now I'm finding this space right here and this one right here, hence the 2 times. So I've got 6 times 5. The order of operations says that I do all the work inside the parentheses first. Then I can complete the multiplication that I have left. And finally, I can add all my numbers together. My answer is 236 centimeters squared. All right, you can give this triangular prism a try. So picture what this triangular prism would look like if you unfolded it into a net. We would need to figure out the area of these bases. We would need to figure out the area of this rectangle, and we need to figure out the area of this rectangle. So base times height is 12, 4 times 3 is 12, times 1/2 is equal to 6. So the area for this triangle and this triangle is 6. Then I will find the area of this rectangle, so I can see the measurements are 6 and 4. So 6 times 4 is 24. Next I'll do this sloped piece, and I can see the measurements are 6 times 5. It's a rectangle, so I just have to multiply those together. And finally I can do this last piece. I can see my measurements are 3, and I don't have a measurement here, but I can look to see what's parallel, and I see the measurement of that is 6. So 6 times 3 is 18. I just need to add these numbers together. 6 and 24 is 30. 30 and 18 is 48. 38 plus 48 is 78. And yards square. This one I want you to try on your own. You can either, since this is a rectangular prism, you can use the formula 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. Or you can envision what it would look like as a net, sort of unfolded, and find the area of each and every side and then add them together. Go ahead and pause the video now, solve this problem, and press play when you're done so that you can see if you got the right answer. All right, here's what I got. I chose to use the formula. When I multiplied, I multiplied length times width, and width times length, and length times height, and width times height, and I got 550 centimeters squared. Remember, what we're doing is finding the surface area. All of this space along the outside, there are 550 square centimeters. If you feel like you need more practice with this, I will put another video in Schoology. You can watch that. If you feel like you're ready to move on, your assignment is on pages 717 and 718. I'd like you to work on numbers 1 through 8.